improving. I love you abusing. I can't understand how a man got you choosing. You're undecided. I came to provide it. Undivided. You came to deny it. Don't even try it. I know when you lying. Don't even do that. I know why you crying. I'm not applying no pressure. Just wanna let you know that I don't wanna let you go, and I don't wanna let you leave. Can't say I didn't let you breathe. Gave you extra cheese. Put you in an SUV. You want an ice, so I made you freeze. Made you hot like the West Indies. Now it's time you invest in me, cause if not, then it's better. So hello, welcome to the Memphis J Motivationals, and I'm your host Memphis J. And I let that beat play for a while because it's very apt to today's topic, and we're gonna get straight into it. Liars, manipulators, schemers. So I want to paint a picture today, and a picture of a liar, a manipulator, or a schemer could be of a psychonomical paradigm of a conspirator, a machinator, a schemer, a Machiavelli. Probably read the book, The Prince, Machiavelli. So, liars, manipulators, and schemers. How do you spot them? Who is a liar? A liar is a person who doesn't speak the truth. What is the truth? Is what it is. A schemer, on the other hand, is a person who is involved in making secret underhand plans. Someone who makes clever secret plans, often to deceive others. For example, he is a schemer who always finds a way of getting what he wants. Is that you? Or, to be fair, she was a cold and calculating schemer who wanted to steal from the old man. And that's very common. If you see an 18-year-old blonde in Las Vegas getting married to a 74-year-old octogenarian, you know there's a scheme involved somewhere. But also manipulators, more intellectually, scientifically, if I may say. Psychological manipulation can be defined as an exercise of undue influence through mental distortion, emotional exploitation, with the intention to seize power, control, benefits, and privileges at the victim's expense. So that's intro. Shout out to Diddy and Mario Winans. That's a very nice tune, but it's quite apt, because people sometimes they lie and they just start to cry. As the lyrics say, I know why you're crying, because that's a form of manipulation, using tears to draw emotional feelings at the victim's expense. So people use tears as a way to manipulate people. So you feel sorry for them, you feel compassion, and they tug at your heartstrings with those tears, which are false. Some people can turn up your tears, they can cry on the go. Like Hollywood actors and actresses, what do you think they do? Or Nollywood or wherever, they can just cry on cue. So crying is a feeling that can be induced. So it does not necessarily mean that people are sorry when they cry. It could well mean that they're just being manipulated. We remember Bernie Madoff, who came up with this Ponzi scheme, which is basically a scheme that leads victims to believe that profits are coming from product sales or other means, while they remain unaware that other investors are the source of the funds. It's all an illusion of a sustainable business. And the way it works is, as long as new investors contribute new funds, and as long as most of the investors do not demand full repayment and still believe in the non-existent assets, then they're purported to their own, And I try to think of what is a historical manipulator that can just try and bring in a grand scale. And Adolf Hitler comes to mind instantly. He will, believe it or not, I know you get Nazis being bandied around, but not really. What I'm focusing on here, that behind all of that, he was such a great public speaker, Adolf Hitler. He persuaded millions of people into thinking that the genocide of over 5 million Jews was the right thing to do. He said they were Mexican or subhuman,
practicing my German there. Apologies to my German. Hello, like, share, and subscribe. Today's topic, we're delving into liars, manipulators, and schemers. One of history's most notorious liars. I'm trying to bring it at a grand scale. I'm not trying to make it quite individual just yet. Richard Nixon, former president of America, he set the bar for presidential lies when he insisted he played no role in Watergate until the tapes came out. And that's one thing, nothing is ever hidden. The walls have ears, literally. And there was a recording. This is back then when Snapchat and all these things are recording everything now was not even available. So he couldn't even believe that he could be found out. So he lied. The president of America said he wasn't involved. And then when the tapes came out, he was involved. Sometimes sports games, like in 1999, the White Sox shocked the whole nation when they threw the World Series. They gave it up, But when I try to just bring it back down, so ethically, lies are unacceptable because they really undermine the humanity of everyone involved. In other words, if lying were acceptable, society would break down. We would have no way to agree on what time of the day it was, much less the rate for billable hours if everyone lied. Lies defy both logic and humanness, making them particularly an objectionable form. And most people can use other things, in terms of manipulation. Sex is a great example. It can be used as a manipulation, people of the feminine gender can really understand that. Also, sometimes, when people are involved in a scheme, so here's how you can spot, when you are thinking that a scheme is going on, because the people that come up with a scheme, they tell deliberately lies, while sometimes they generally believe in them and forget any fact that becomes inconvenient. And then when it becomes necessary again, to draw back from oblivion just as long as it is required. So that's more or less trying to define or explain selective memory. When people say, I do not recall, and they weave parts of the story in a way to leave out the critical details as a way of manipulating you to believe that what is being presented as the truth is, but it's not, because it's been distorted, because you're trying to manipulate, denying the existence of objective reality on the while taking an account of the reality of which one denies, sometimes referred to as double think. And even when you use that word double think, it means that you already know that you're tampering with reality, because you know what it is and you're trying to perpetrate on it by mixing it up. So when you go around, you need to spot out for people. Say sometimes, like when people are lying, they touch their nose, or people are trying to manipulate, and they sometimes do project what did. Have you always found out that, like I always say when I was growing up, that if you walk into a bunch of kids and maybe you're missing a cake, the first person to say I didn't touch the cake, the guilty one, usually speaks up first. And look at what they're doing. They're projecting that I didn't touch the cake, because instinctively they're trying to project and defend. But that's how you can spot liars straight away. Like I mentioned about manipulators, tears, a very good example. Oh, have sorrow for me. And while you're busy doing that, and that's when reality or objective reality is being twisted. We're living in an upside down world now, where up is down and down is up. And sometimes people don't want to believe. In the famous words of, I think it's Maya Angelou, he says, when people show you who they are, believe them. And believe it or not, schemers actually tell you what they're doing. But it's the power of persuasion. Have you ever got an email from a Prince Boo Boo promising you $1 million investment, where all you have to do is just send in $200 first? And then before you know it, a Ponzi scheme is being built. manipulation is taking place. But people fall for it all the time. Why? Because these things involve emotional tugging at the strings. So in itself, manipulation in itself is really something that is being changed and being inverted, as the definition said, and is usually done through undue influence, through mental distortion. Do you know what that means? Mental distortion. Have a sip. It's to play with the mind and create a reality that's not really in existence. Emotional exploitation, as I said, tugging at the heartstrings, making sure that, drawing up where you feel vulnerable, your kindness and your warmth. You want to take advantage of that, all for the purpose to seize power, control, and the benefits that come with that as well at your expense. People, believe it or not, you can say what you want about Donald Trump, but he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, the Negotiation, which is a form of manipulation. So again, you never know where you might run across someone who's skilled at manipulation when you're trying to be manipulated. So I guess what I'm really trying to share today, we've got to be careful and spot for the traits and spot out for Ponzi schemes and spot out for things that are, if you're being played, don't want to keep on the low, you want to know. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Memphis J. Please like, share, and subscribe. Catch you in the next episode.